The abandoned control center of Earth's once proud Space Command sat silent, its screens displaying the final known coordinates of the Dauntless. Admiral Hannah Song stood with her hands clasped behind her back, staring at the holographic replay of that fateful day 50 years ago. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the emotion threatening to break through. The recording flickered to life. The sleek experimental vessel Dauntless hovered against the blackness of space, its newly installed dimensional drive glowing with an eerie blue light. Captain Jiwoo Park's voice came through, confident and clear. "Control, this is Dauntless. All systems nominal, commencing dimensional fold in 3.2. 1. A flash of light, a ripple in space. Then nothing, just static." Hannah closed her eyes. She'd been a junior officer that day, watching from this very room as humanity's greatest achievement turned into its greatest mystery. "Admiral," a young officer interrupted her thoughts, "the Council is waiting." She nodded and straightened her uniform. The United Earth Council had little interest in the past. Their focus remained on managing humanity's restricted present, a handful of colonies on Mars and Europa, and carefully controlled diplomatic relations with alien civilizations that viewed humans as primitive curiosities. The council chamber buzzed with tension when she arrived. Representatives from the colonies argued with Earth officials about resources, while the diplomatic corps presented their latest humiliating concessions to the Talon Empire. "The Talons have granted us permission to establish a research outpost on Ganymede," announced Diplomatic Chief Junho, trying to sound enthusiastic. "This represents a significant expansion of our cage," interrupted Hannah, causing heads to turn. "They've given us permission to move slightly farther within our own solar system." "How generous," Junho frowned. "Admiral, the Galactic Concord has established rules for emerging species. We should be grateful the Talons champion our cause at all." Hannah bit back a sharper response. For 50 years, the Talons and their allies had restricted human expansion under the guise of protecting younger species. Their technology dwarfed Earth's, their massive ships casually displaying power that made humanity's greatest weapons look like toys. "The Talons have existed for thousands of years," Council President Min reminded everyone. "We've barely left our planet. Patience is required." The meeting continued with more reports of restricted trade agreements, limited technology, transfers and careful monitoring of human activities. No one questioned why the supposedly benevolent elder races seemed so interested in keeping humanity contained. Later that night, Hannah stood on the observation deck of Space Command, looking up at the stars. Her generation had grown up believing those stars were humanity's destiny. Now they were just distant lights, most already claimed by others. "Still thinking about the Dauntless?" asked Director Jinwoo, joining her at the window. He'd been the ship's chief designer, his career both made and broken by the project. "I never stopped," she admitted. 12 of our best, gone in an instant." "The dimensional drive should have worked," Jinwoo said quietly. "Every simulation, every test, it was perfect." Their conversation was interrupted by a junior officer rushing in, face flushed with excitement. "Admiral, Director, something's happening at the system edge. Long-range sensors are picking up a distortion." Hannah and Jinwoo exchanged glances before rushing to the command center. The main screen showed a swirling anomaly forming at the edge of the Sol system, rippling like water. "Talon ships?" Hannah asked. "No, ma'am, energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. Wait, we're receiving a transmission." The speakers crackled with static before a voice broke through, a voice that hadn't been heard in 50 years. "Control, this is Captain Park of the Earth vessel Dauntless, requesting permission to return home." Stunned silence fell over the command center. "That's impossible," whispered Jinwoo. Hannah leaned forward. "Captain Park, your ship disappeared 50 years ago." A pause. 50 years. That can't be right. We've been gone 3 months at most. The anomaly expanded, and through it emerged a ship, recognizable as the Dauntless only by its general shape. The hull now shimmered with impossible geometries, materials that seemed to bend light around them, and energy readings that made the sensors glitch. "Detecting 12 life signs aboard," reported the sensor officer. Biometrics match the original crew, but this can't be right. They show no signs of aging. Hana ordered the defense fleet to maintain distance but stand ready. Captain Park, what happened to your ship? Admiral, we found something out there. Something that changes everything. Park's voice had an edge to it, a weight of knowledge. The Talons said they've been lying to us, to everyone. As the transformed Dauntless moved closer to Earth, the sensors registered energy levels climbing off the charts, power that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. We need to talk, continued Park, but not over open channels. The Talons monitor everything. Hana nodded to herself. Bring them in quietly. Full quarantine protocols. As orders went out to secure the returned ship, Hana and Jinwoo shared a look of cautious hope. Whatever had happened to the Dauntless, whatever it had become, it might finally give humanity a chance to break free of their gilded cage. The lost Earth ship had returned, and from the looks of it, the universe would never be the same. The quarantine bay of Earth's orbital defense station hummed with nervous energy as technicians in hazard suits prepared for the arrival of the Dauntless. Admiral Hana Song paced behind the reinforced observation window, watching as the ship that had vanished 50 years ago glided into the massive docking area. Up close, the transformation was even more startling. The once sleek hull now rippled, with patterns that hurt the eyes if you looked too long, materials that seemed to shift between solid and something else entirely, sections that appeared to exist in multiple places at once. "It's beautiful," whispered Director Jinwoo beside her, "and terrifying." The docking clamps engaged with a metallic thunk that echoed through the bay. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, with a hiss of equalizing pressure, the main airlock of the Dauntless began to open. Captain Jiwoo Park stepped out first. She looked exactly as she had in the photographs taken before the mission launched 50 years ago, not a day older. Her uniform, however, had changed. The standard Earth Space Command insignia remained, but the fabric itself seemed to shimmer, as if woven from something other than cloth. "Permission to come aboard?" she called out, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Hana stepped forward to the microphone. "Permission granted, Captain. Welcome home." One by one, the crew of the Dauntless emerged, 12 men and women, all unchanged by time, all bearing the same strange calmness in their eyes. They submitted to the quarantine procedures without complaint, allowing the medical staff to scan and test them. "No signs of radiation, no pathogens, no anomalies," reported Dr. Kyung, looking confused as he studied the results. "Physically, they're in perfect health. Better than perfect, actually. Their cellular regeneration rates are, well, I've never seen anything like it." Hours later, after the preliminary examinations were complete, Hana sat across from Captain Park in the secure debriefing room. The rest of the crew waited in separate quarters, each being interviewed by specialized teams. 3 months, Park said, answering Hana's question about how long they'd been gone. "That's all it felt like to curse. We activated the dimensional drive. There was a flash and we found ourselves elsewhere." "Elsewhere?" Park's eyes unfocused slightly as if looking at something beyond the room. "That's what we started calling it. Not another planet or even another universe exactly. More like the space between spaces, a dimension where reality is more fluid, more programmable." She placed an object on the table between them, a small cube that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. "We found remnants of a civilization there, not living beings, but their technology, their knowledge." Jinwoo, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. "What happened to them?" "We don't know. They left behind libraries, not books, but storage systems for information encoded into the fabric of reality itself. We could only understand fragments, but what we did learn—" Park shook her head in wonder. "They had mastered the fundamental laws of existence. They could rewrite probability, manipulate gravity, even create pockets of altered time." Hana's tactical mind immediately grasped the implications. "And you brought this technology back?" "Not just brought it back," Park corrected her. "We integrated with it. The ship, the crew, we're all changed now, enhanced." As if to demonstrate, Park held out her hand. Above her palm, a miniature star seemed to form, swirling with energy before collapsing back into nothingness. Hana flinched, but Jinwoo watched with fascination. "That's impossible," he whispered. Not impossible, Park replied. Just beyond our previous understanding of physics. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. A security officer burst into the room without knocking. Admiral, 3 Talon ships just entered the system. They're demanding to speak with you immediately. Hana cursed under her breath. How did they know so quickly? Park's expression darkened. Because they've been watching for this. They know what we found. The main communications screen flickered to life, revealing the elegant, imposing face of Ambassador Talon, the Talon representative to Earth. His silver skin glimmered in the light of his ship, his eyes unnaturally large and knowing. Admiral, Song, he began without preamble, our sensors have detected a dimensional anomaly in your system, along with the return of a vessel previously lost. Under Section 47 of the Galactic Concord Treaty, we must insist that any recovered technology of unknown origin be surrendered immediately for safety evaluation. Hana maintained her diplomatic composure. Ambassador, we're still in the process of determining what's happened. Once we complete our investigation— This is not a request, Admiral, interrupted Talon, his voice suddenly cold. The vessel and its crew represent a potential hazard to the stability of this sector. My ships are prepared to dock and assume control of the situation. Behind Hana, out of view of the camera, Park made a subtle gesture. The screen flickered momentarily. We're experiencing some technical difficulties with our long-range communications, Hana improvised. Perhaps we should continue this discussion when you arrive in Earth orbit, Ambassador. Talon's eyes narrowed. Very well, we will arrive within 6 hours. Have the vessel and its crew ready for transfer. The screen went dark. What did you do? Hana asked, turning to Park. Bought us some time, the captain replied. They won't be here in 6 hours. I've created a probability field around the system. Their navigation systems will experience complications. Jinwoo let out a low whistle. You can do that? From here? Park nodded. The ship amplifies our abilities, but even without it, we've been changed by our time in the elsewhere. She leaned forward, her expression intense. Admiral, you need to understand something. The Talons aren't coming to help us. They're coming because they're afraid. Afraid? Of what? Of what humanity might become if we truly understood reality. Park gestured toward the window, where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the blackness of space. They've been keeping us contained, limiting our development, and now they know we've found what they've been hiding from the younger races for millennia. Hana's mind raced with implications, with possibilities, with dangers. What you're suggesting? It would change everything we thought we knew about our place in the galaxy. Exactly, said Park, a glint of determination in her eyes. The question is, are you ready to learn the truth? As if in answer, the lights throughout the station flickered, and for just a moment, reality itself seemed to waver around them. The lost Earth ship had returned, and nothing would ever be the same again. The secure laboratory deep within Earth's lunar base buzzed with activity as scientists and engineers gathered around the artifacts brought back by the dauntless crew. Chief Engineer Tae-ho Kim stood beside a hovering sphere of what appeared to be liquid metal, though it responded to neither gravity nor magnetism. His hands moved through the air above it, and the sphere transformed, stretching and folding into impossible shapes. It's not actually matter as we understand it, Tae-ho explained to the wide-eyed research team. It's more like solidified potential. It becomes what you need it to be. Dr. Yuna Lee, Earth's leading physicist, shook her head in amazement. This violates everything we know about conservation of mass and energy. That's because our understanding was incomplete, Tae-ho replied with a gentle smile. Where we went, the rules are different, or rather the rules can be rewritten. In another section of the lab, Captain Ji-woo Park and Admiral Hana Song watched as Security Chief Jun Seo-yoon demonstrated what they'd begun calling phase bubbles. With a gesture, he created a shimmering dome of energy around a set of ordinary Earth computers. Inside the dome, the machines began processing at speeds that should have melted their components. The bubble creates a pocket where certain physical constants can be adjusted, Jun Seo explained. In this case, we've altered how electrons move, allowing for computational speeds thousands of times faster than normal. Hannah picked up one of the tablets connected to the enhanced computers. Data streamed across it, problems solving themselves almost instantly. With this kind of processing power, we could advance our technology by centuries in a matter of months, Park finished for her. That's just the beginning. The lab door slid open, and Director Jin Woo entered, his face grim. The Council is meeting in emergency session. The Talon ships are still delayed by whatever you did, Captain, but they've managed to send communications. They're demanding we surrender the Dauntless and all related technology immediately. And the Council's response? Hannah asked, already guessing the answer. Jin Woo's expression said it all. They're scared. The Talons have hinted at severe consequences for non-compliance. Most of the Council is ready to give them whatever they want. Park exchanged knowing glances with her crew. It's time to show them what we really found. In the Council chamber, an hour later, Earth's leaders sat in stunned silence as they watched the demonstration. At the center of the room, Science Officer Su-Min Lee had created a miniature star system, actual planets orbiting a tiny sun, all hovering above the conference table. This isn't a hologram, she explained. These are real, just miniaturized and contained within a probability field. The same principles allow us to create the shields that are currently keeping the Talon ships at bay. Impossible, whispered one council member. No, corrected Su-Min. Just previously unknown to us, but not to the Talons. Captain Park stepped forward. During our time in what we call the Elsewhere dimension, we discovered records left by an ancient civilization, one that had mastered the underlying code of reality itself. They could manipulate matter, energy, even time and probability. But they weren't the only ones to find this knowledge. She activated a device brought from the Dauntless. A three-dimensional display appeared, showing star charts and historical records recovered from the Elsewhere libraries. The Talons discovered similar technology 5,000 years ago, Park continued. It allowed them to advance rapidly, to establish themselves as one of the elder races of the galaxy. But instead of sharing this knowledge, they've been actively suppressing it, keeping younger species like ours from discovering what they found. Why would they do that? Asked the Council President. Engineer Teho stepped forward. Control. Power. The Talons and the other elder races formed the Galactic Concord not as a cooperative alliance, but as a means to maintain their technological advantage. Dr. Yuna pointed to the display where data streamed past. We've analyzed communications between Talon ships. They're terrified of human innovation. They believed if they restricted our expansion enough, kept us contained long enough, we'd never discover the reality-breaking technology on our own. But we did, said Park. Not through their approved channels, but by accident. The dimensional drive we created 50 years ago, it wasn't a failure. It worked exactly as designed. It just took us somewhere the Talons never wanted us to go. The council members exchanged nervous glances. Even if what you're saying is true, said one, we can't oppose the Talons militarily. Their ships, their weapons. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the chamber. A security officer rushed in. Talon ships have broken through whatever was delaying them. They're approaching Earth orbit, weapons hot. Instead of panic, Captain Park smiled. Right on schedule. She nodded to Jun Seo, who activated a small device. The view screen in the council chamber shifted to show the three massive Talon vessels approaching Earth. Elegant, silver ships that dwarfed humanity's largest cruisers. We've prepared a demonstration, Park said calmly. Watch. On screen, the Earth Defense Fleet moved to intercept the Talon ships, a brave but futile gesture given the technological gap between them. The lead Talon vessel fired a warning shot, a beam of energy that should have vaporized the nearest Earthship. Instead, the beam simply vanished. What you're seeing is our first major application of the reality-breaking technology, explained Jun Seo. We call it the probability shield. It doesn't block attacks in the traditional sense, it simply alters probability so that attacks have a 0% chance of occurring. On screen, the Talon ships fired again, more desperately this time. Each shot disappeared before reaching its target. The Council watched in amazement as Earth's seemingly outmatched fleet held its ground against the most powerful ships in the galaxy. This is just one application, Park continued. We've barely scratched the surface of what's possible. With time and resources, We can revolutionize not just our defenses but every aspect of human life. Energy production, medicine, space travel. And the Talons? Asked Hannah. What happens when more of their ships arrive? Park's expression turned serious. That's why we need to act quickly. They'll send more ships, more threats, but we have something they don't expect. She gestured to Su Min, who activated another device. A holographic map of the galaxy appeared, with glowing points representing the homeworlds of every Concord species. We can send envoys instantly to every world in the Galactic Concord. Not messages, actual people. We can tell everyone the truth about what the Talons have been hiding. The Council fell silent, contemplating the implications. You're talking about challenging the entire galactic order, the President finally said. Captain Park nodded. Yes, not through war but through truth. The Talons aren't gods, they're just beings who found powerful technology and decided to keep it for themselves. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each council member. The question is, what will humanity do with the same discovery? Will we follow their path of hoarding knowledge and power, or will we show the galaxy a different way? As if in answer, the Earth ships on screen formed a protective formation around their planet, not retreating, not attacking, but standing firm against the Talon threat. The lost Earth ship had returned, and with it, the power to reshape reality itself. The observation deck of the lunar base offered a perfect view of the standoff in Earth orbit. Talon ships hung motionless against the starry background, their weapon systems active but useless against the strange new defenses humanity had deployed. Admiral Hannah Song stood with her arms crossed, watching tensely as diplomatic channels buzzed with increasingly frantic demands from the alien vessels. Beside her, Science Officer Su Min Lee worked rapidly through a holographic interface, analyzing data streams from the dauntless computers. Her fingers flowed through the projected symbols as she pieced together fragments of information recovered from the elsewhere dimension. I've managed to decrypt more of the historical archives, Su Min announced, not looking up from her work. You need to see this. With a gesture, she expanded the display. Records unfolded before them, ancient star charts, technological schematics, and historical accounts dating back thousands of years. But these weren't Talon records. They were from the mysterious civilization that had mastered reality-breaking technology long before. These records call them the Architects, Su Min explained. They discovered the underlying code of reality 10,000 years ago. For a time, they thrived, building wonders across multiple star systems. What happened to them? Hannah asked. Studying the images of magnificent structures that seemed to defy physics, they fragmented. Some wanted to share their knowledge with younger species. Others feared the consequences. Su Min highlighted a section of text. There was conflict, and eventually, most of the architects retreated deeper into the multiverse, leaving behind only fragments of their knowledge. Captain Jiwoo Park joined them, her expression grim. And the Talons found these fragments. Yes, confirmed Su Min, but not just the Talons. More images appeared, showing other species that humanity recognized as the elder races of the Galactic Concord. They all discovered pieces of architect technology at different times, each advanced rapidly because of it, but instead of sharing their findings, they formed a pact, finished Director Jinwoo, who had been silently observing. The Galactic Concord isn't just a political alliance, it's a conspiracy. Su Min nodded. The founding treaty of the Concord includes secret provisions. The elder races agreed to suppress any rediscovery of reality-breaking technology by younger species. They've been doing it for thousands of years. That explains their reaction to our return, said Park. The Dauntless didn't just stumble upon forgotten technology. We accidentally exposed their biggest secret. The communication panel chimed. Admiral, called out a nervous officer, the Talon High Commissioner is demanding to speak with you personally. Hannah straightened her uniform. Put him through. The holographic display shifted, revealing the imposing figure of High Commissioner Kelvar. Unlike Ambassador Talon, Kelvar made no attempt at diplomatic pleasantries. Admiral Song, he began, his silver face rigid with barely contained anger. You harbor technology that poses an existential threat to galactic stability. Surrender the vessel Dauntless, and all associated artifacts immediately, or face the consequences. Hana kept her expression neutral. High Commissioner, we've reviewed the Concord treaties. There's nothing that prohibits technological advancement. Do not play games, Kelvar snapped. The technology you possess violates natural law. It cannot be controlled by immature species. Your own history demonstrates your tendency toward self-destruction. Is that why the Concord has kept us contained? Hana asked. To protect us from ourselves, or to protect your monopoly on advanced technology? Kelvar's large eyes narrowed. The hierarchy of galactic civilization exists for good reason, Admiral. Some species are simply not ready for certain knowledge. The Concord maintains order that benefits the elder races while keeping everyone else dependent, Park interjected, stepping into view. We've seen the archives, Commissioner. We know about the architects. We know what you've been hiding. For the first time, Kelvar's composure broke, his silver skin paling further. You understand nothing. The architects nearly destroyed reality itself with their experiments. We prevent history from repeating. By keeping other species permanently subordinate, challenged Hana. By maintaining necessary control, Kelvar countered. The Concord has dispatched our main battle fleet. They will arrive within 24 hours. This is your final opportunity to surrender peacefully. The transmission cut off abruptly. Can our defenses hold against their main fleet? Jin Wu asked anxiously. Park exchanged glances with her crew. The probability shield will hold, but we can't stay on the defensive forever. Back in the main laboratory, Engineer Tai-Ho Kim and Dr. Hyun-Woo Kang worked frantically, applying the newly discovered principles to Earth's existing technology. Around them, machines hummed with energy that shouldn't have been possible. We've managed to integrate the phase space technology with our communication systems, Tai-Ho reported when Hana and the others joined them. We can now broadcast instantly to every human colony and outpost, regardless of distance. Dr. Kang looked up from a complex apparatus that seemed to bend light around it. More importantly, I've made a breakthrough with the translocation technology. We can now transport not just data, but physical objects, including people, across vast distances instantaneously. How far? Asked Hana. Anywhere we have coordinates for, Kang replied, including every world in the Galactic Concord. The implications weren't lost on anyone in the room. If they could send ambassadors directly to every inhabited world, bypassing the Concord's carefully controlled channels of communication, the Talons have kept us isolated from other younger species, Park said thoughtfully. I wonder if they've told the same lies to everyone else. What would happen if we all learned the truth at once? An alert sounded throughout the base. Security Chief Jun Seo-yoon hurried in, his face tight with concern. We're detecting dozens of new warp signatures. At the edge of the system, he reported. Not just Talon ships, vessels from all the elder races, they're converging on Earth. Hana turned to Captain Park and her crew. It seems the entire Concord is treating this as an emergency. That tells us something important. They're scared, Park agreed. Not just of the technology itself, but of what happens when everyone learns. They've been hoarding it. Dr. Kang looked up from his work. I've finished the modifications to the translocation system. We can send teams to every major world in the Concord simultaneously, but we need to move quickly before the elder races can coordinate their response. Hana turned to the rest of the crew, seeing determination in their eyes. This isn't just about Earth anymore. This is about every species that's been kept in the dark, held back from their potential. The question is, Park said quietly, what do we do with this power? The Talons used it to control others. The architects apparently retreated from using it at all. What will humanity's path be? Hana gazed out the window at the Earth, blue and vulnerable in the vastness of space, yet now paradoxically more powerful than anyone had imagined possible. We show them who we really are, she decided. Not conquerors, not controllers, but not subordinates either. She turned to face the team. We're going to offer every species in the galaxy the same choice we have now, the truth and the freedom to decide what to do with it. As the Concord fleet drew closer, humanity prepared to change the course of galactic history. The revelation was about to spread across the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. The combined Concorde fleet filled Earth's skyline, visible even from the ground as points of light moving against the stars. Hundreds of vessels from every elder race, not just Talons but Viridians, Osira and others, had arrived to contain what they saw as a catastrophic breach of galactic order. Their weapons primed, their communications demanding immediate surrender. Inside Earth's unified command center, Admiral Hannah Song stood calmly before the world's leaders. The fear that might have paralyzed them days earlier had given way to something else: resolve. "They're positioning for a simultaneous strike," reported Jun Seo, monitoring the tactical display. "All Concorde vessels will fire in 3 minutes." Hannah nodded. "Let them." On screens around the world, civilians watched the alien armada with a strange mixture of dread and anticipation. Parents held children close, friends clasped hands, strangers shared nervous glances in public squares. This should have been humanity's darkest hour, outgunned, outmatched by species thousands of years more advanced. But they had the dauntless crew, and they had the truth. High Commissioner Kelvar's voice boomed through the command center as he made his final declaration. "People of Earth, you have been judged unfit to possess reality-altering technology. Surrender now, or we will be forced to neutralize your defenses and retrieve it ourselves." Hannah stepped forward to the communication panel. "High Commissioner, we have considered your demand and reached a decision." She paused, meeting the eyes of the other world leaders, who nodded their approval. "We refuse." "Then you leave us no choice," Kelvar responded coldly. The Concorde fleet fired as one. Beams of energy, gravitational weapons, missiles carrying payloads that could crack planets. The combined firepower could have reduced Earth's surface to molten glass a dozen times over. Instead, every attack simply faded, disappeared, ceased to exist before making contact with Earth's atmosphere. In the control room, Taeho monitored the probability shield. Shield holding at 100%, no strain detected. "Just as we predicted," Captain Park said with quiet satisfaction. "Their weapons literally cannot harm us anymore." On the command screens, confusion rippled through the Concorde fleet. Ships adjusted positions, fired again with different weapons, tried new angles of attack. Nothing worked. Kelvar's voice returned, tinged now with something unfamiliar in a Talon: fear. "What have you done?" "Exactly what you feared," Hannah replied. "We've mastered the technology you've been hiding. But unlike you, we're not going to keep it to ourselves." She nodded to Dr. Kang, who activated the translocation system. Throughout the command center, volunteer ambassadors, scientists, diplomats, and regular citizens who had stepped forward vanished in flashes of light. "At this moment," Hannah continued, "human representatives are appearing on every inhabited world in the Concorde, not just the home worlds of the elder races, but every world of every species you've kept in the dark. They're sharing what we've discovered, about the architects, about reality-breaking technology, and about your conspiracy to control who gets access to it." On screens around the command center, feeds began appearing from across the galaxy. Human ambassadors standing in alien council chambers, town squares, broadcast studios. Initial shock and confusion giving way to intense interest as the truth was revealed. "You've doomed the galaxy to chaos," Kelvar hissed. "These species aren't ready." "That's not your decision to make anymore," Park replied firmly. "It never should have been." Across the galaxy, the younger races of the Concorde learned how they had been manipulated, their development artificially stunted, their potential deliberately limited. Some reacted with anger, others with disbelief, but all demanded answers from the elder races who had claimed to be their benevolent guides. In the command center, Sumin monitored the flood of incoming transmissions. "We're receiving messages from dozens of worlds. They're asking for proof, for details, and for the technology itself. And we'll share it," Hannah confirmed, "not as weapons, but as tools to help every species reach their full potential." On the main screen, the Concorde fleet had stopped firing, the ships now motionless as their commanders presumably argued about what to do next. After several tense minutes, a new transmission came through, not from Kelvar, but from an unfamiliar Viridian, her scaled face bearing the markings of high authority. "I am Supreme Counselor Ith of the Galactic Concord," she began, her tone measured. "In light of recent revelations, the Concord leadership requests a diplomatic meeting with Earth authorities." Hannah raised an eyebrow. "Not demands, requests." "The situation has changed," Ith admitted reluctantly. "Several member worlds are already calling for reform of the Concord. Some are threatening to withdraw entirely." Park stepped forward. "We'll meet with you, Counselor, but not as supplicants, as equals." "Understood," Ith replied, looking profoundly uncomfortable with the new reality. "A delegation will arrive unarmed to begin discussions." After the transmission ended, cheers erupted throughout the command center, quickly spreading to the crowds watching around the world. Humanity had stood its ground against the most powerful forces in the galaxy, and won without firing a shot. Later, as preparations were made for the historic meeting, Hannah found Captain Park standing alone on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "Having second thoughts?" Hannah asked, joining her. Park shook her head. "Just thinking about responsibility. We've changed everything forever. There's no going back now." "Are you worried we made the wrong choice? That the Talons were right about controlling this knowledge?" "No," Park said firmly. "Knowledge itself isn't dangerous. It's what you do with it that matters. The elder races chose control and stagnation. We're choosing openness and growth." Below them, Earth continued its peaceful rotation, its people now aware they were part of something much larger. Already, scientists were applying the new principles to solve age-old problems: clean energy, environmental restoration, medical breakthroughs. The phase space technology was being adapted to help colonies become self-sufficient, to make barren worlds habitable, to connect humanity across vast distances. "What happens next?" Hannah asked quietly. Park smiled. "Everything. Anything. That's the point." She gestured toward the stars. "For the first time, we're truly free to find out what we can become, and so is everyone else." 3 days later, in a hastily constructed meeting hall built specifically for the occasion, representatives from over 200 species gathered on neutral ground, a space station orbiting Earth's moon. Elder races sat uncomfortably alongside. The younger species they had patronized for millennia, all eyes on the humans who had disrupted the galactic order. Hannah took the podium first, looking out at the assembled delegates. Some faces were familiar from Earth's limited contact with alien species. Most were entirely new, beings of every imaginable form, united by their shared discovery of how their development had been constrained. "Today marks the beginning of a new era," she began. "Not one dominated by Earth or humans, but one where all species can develop according to their own paths, without artificial limitations." She gestured to the dauntless crew, seated in a place of honor. "We didn't set out to challenge the Concord or to overthrow the galactic order. We simply stumbled upon a truth that had been hidden. Now that truth belongs to everyone." As she spoke, the first shipments of reality-breaking technology were already being prepared for distribution. Not weapons, but tools. Not secrets, but knowledge openly shared. The lost Earth ship had returned, and with it humanity had ascended not to rule the galaxy, but to help set it free.